Someone, if you could run this. Sorry. Ms. McCabe, what was depicted in that video, is that consistent with what you observed, the weather conditions to be around the time that you arrived at Mr. O'Keefe's house?
Yes.
And lastly, in this line, Your Honor, if I, with the court's permission, could publish just a very short portion of what's been marked as Exhibit 41. Gentlemen, if I could ask you to fast forward this to about 2 hours and 10 minutes. Maybe you could play from there. Stop it there. And again, what's in this video, do you recognize that, Mr. Kidd?
Yes, I do.
What do you recognize that?
That is John's house.
Ms. Gilman, if you could play from there. Now, what's depicted in this video, sort of the screen directly in front of you, do you recognize that?
Yes.
What do you recognize that?
John's driveway.
As far as what, if anything, do you observe in John's driveway?
John's car and Karen's car.
And where, if you could, using the laser pointer, just direct your attention to where is the defendant's car and where is Mr. O'Keefe's?
Mr. O'Keefe's car and the defendant's.
And where do you observe the defendant's car to be? Is that essentially where you parked it at that time?
Yes.
Now, may I have a moment?
Okay.
Can we just hold it on?
Sure.
I'll see counsel at sidebar for just a minute. Jurors, I just want to tell, I appreciate counsel trying to work together for this. It's probably going to take too long, so we're just going to make do. We've had enough interruptions.
Now, Mr. McCabe, as far as what you observe from what you can on the screen right now, the condition of the passenger side tail light, is that consistent with what you observed when you parked the vehicle there sometime earlier that morning?
It's kind of hard to see from this distance.
And just, if you could, lastly, just with the laser pointer, direct your attention where in the video you see the rear passenger side tail light. Just go in, you can take that. Now, Ms. McCabe, you then, yourself, the defendant, and Ms. Roberts then get into Ms. Roberts' vehicle, is that correct?
Yes.
Who was seated where within Ms. Roberts' vehicle as you're going from Meadows Ave? Or what was the plan and where were you going sort of first when you left Meadows Ave?
We were going to Fairview
And why were you going to Fairview?
because Karen kept screaming, "We need to go to Fairview."
Now, who was seated where within the vehicle when you did it?
Kerry was driving, I was in the passenger seat, and Karen was in the back.
And what were the lighting conditions at this point that you're driving over there?
It was hard to see out the window. You really had to be kind of staring out. It was dark. The snow was coming at the car.
And as you're making that drive, or as Ms. Roberts is making that drive from Meadows Ave to Fairview, about how long a drive is it?
Approximately 10 minutes. I mean, with the weather, the lights, the street lights, I would say about 10 minutes, give or take.
And as far as during the drive from Meadows Ave to Fairview, what's going on inside the car over the course of that ride?
Karen is in between us, like from the back, kind of pushing up in between Carrie and myself. And she's just screaming, "Carrie, Carrie!" Her name over and over, my name over and over, and repeating certain phrases. Could I have hit him? Did I hit him? Carrie is yelling at her to shut up, to sit back, to buckle up, to look for John.
And while this is going on, what, if anything, are you and Ms. Roberts doing in the front seat of the car?
She's slowly driving and I'm just peering out the window looking for John. I mean, it was a crazy situation. She's screaming, "He didn't come home. Could he be walking home? Where is he?" So we're just looking out the window, looking for John.
Now, during the time that this is going on and Ms. Reed is sort of screaming in between you, was that continuous or what, if anything else, did you see her doing in the back seat while you were going from Meadows Ave there?
I didn't see her doing anything. She just continuously screamed that. And then as we got by different landmarks, she then started, screaming, asking if John could be at certain people's houses.
And whose houses was she asking if John could be at?
If she could be at Bella's house.
Referring to the directions that you had provided the night before?
Correct.
And so that would have been, Bella was a child who was around the age of Kaylee and your daughter, correct?
Yes.
And there have been some years in the past dating relationship between Mr. O'Keefe and Bella's mother, correct?
Yes.
And so Ms. Reed is saying that in the car that morning as you're driving over to Fairview?
Yes. She asked, could he have been with Ashley? And I looked at her and said no, because to me that was a crazy idea. And then Carrie had mentioned, "Oh, do you think he could have called somebody else that lived on a street over?" And she started screaming, "Who's that? Who's she?"
And you recall who Carrie referred to?
Yes.
And who was that?
A woman that John had previously dated.
And was that anywhere recent in time to when you're driving around on January 29th? When they had dated?
No.
So similar to Bella's mother would have been years before?
Correct.
And so when Ms. Roberts said that, what, if anything, did the defendant?
She was just spiraling, yelling about Ashley, who was Bella's mom, and just talking what I thought was very irrational about John maybe being with her.
So you're looking around outside of the vehicle as the vehicle is going down towards Fairview, is that correct?
Yes.
And you recall how it was that Ms. Roberts came about coming to Fairview similar to the night before? Did she come in from the Chapman side or from the Cedar Crest side?
Chapman.
And as the vehicle turns from Chapman onto Fairview, what, if any, conversation was going on at that point?
Well, Bella lives on that street, so that was when that conversation was being had. Also, just a continuation. It was just like continuous screaming of our names. Carrie screaming at her to sit back, and then sometimes she would sit back and almost like be quiet for a minute, and then it would start all over again.
Now, as you were coming down Fairview Road, what, if anything, were you saying to Ms. Roberts did Ms. Roberts know where she was going as far as where your sister lived?
No, I told her that my sister lived at the bottom, and then as we got closer, I said, you know, just past, see where those trees are? Just past the trees is my sister's house.
And as you got in that area of sort of the trees, from the residence of your sister at 34 Fairview Road, trees that you're talking about, where are they in relation to the property?
They're at the start of the property is the trees, and then their property begins.
And so the flagpole area and fire hydrant that you were talking about in earlier exhibits, is that in the same area as the trees?
Yes, a little. It goes the trees, and then the fire hydrant. You know, then further up is the fire hydrant and the flagpole.
As you're coming down Fairview now, approaching 34 Fairview, the house would be on which side of the vehicle, on the driver's side or the passenger side?
The driver's side.
And as you approach that area where trees and the flagpole and the fire hydrant were, what, if anything, happens then?
We drive past the flagpole area, and all of a sudden, Karen starts screaming, there he is, and she's banging to get out.
And banging on the door in the back seat?
Yes.
And at the time that she's saying this, were you able to see anything outside of the vehicle?
I saw nothing.
And what, if anything, when she's banging and kicking the door, banging on the door, what did Ms. Roberts do?
Miss Roberts unlocked the door. Karen got out. Miss Roberts looked at me and said something like, she's crazy or she's batshit crazy, something like that.
And when the defendant gets out of the vehicle, where is it that she goes?
She just runs
And runs away.
straight to John.
And again, when she's running, at this point in time, can you see what she's running toward or where she's going or anything that she's talking about?
I was on the passenger side, so as I got out, she was already at John.
So she gets out and essentially makes a beeline over to where John was,
Correct.
and you're getting out of the passenger side, and by the time you come around the car, she's already there.
Yes.
And when she gets over there, what, if anything, could you see at that point?
She straddles John and she lifts up his shirt, and then she lifted up her shirt and went to lay on him. And Miss Roberts went over and she was removing the snow from his face.
Let me take a step back from that just for a moment. And Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would ask to publish just a portion of what's been marked as Exhibit 12.
Okay.
Mr. McCabe, I'm going to direct your attention up to the screen of what's been marked as Exhibit 12, and I know this is not something that pertains to your vehicle or anything else. But what I'm going to ask you as it plays through is if what you observed in this video is consistent with what you observed during the drive through Fairview Road that way. Just going to if you could play. As this video is running, Ms. McCabe, if I could just ask, what you see in this video, is that consistent with sort of the lighting and the conditions weather-wise that you observed when Ms. Roberts was driving from Meadows Ave to Fairview?
Yes.
McCabe, do you recognize whereabouts in the town of Canton this perspective wise as far as what street or where it is, any landmarks that you observed in the video?
Yes, that is Cassie. We just passed Cassie's Corner Store, and that is Chapman Street.
Again, Ms. McCabe, do you recognize whereabouts in the town of Canton we are in this portion of the video?
Yes,
Where are
this is the top of Fairview.
we? So this will be from Chapman coming on to Fairview, is that correct?
Correct.
And prior to that, along that ride along Chapman, is that the period of time when you're looking out the window and trying to see if you can see John on the side of the road?
Yes, but we didn't drive that way.
You came from the other direction?
Yes.
You would have been taking, instead of a right onto Fairview, you would have been taking a left onto Fairview?
Yes.
And just coming to Now, what's up on the screen and what you just observed as far as the drive down Fairview, is that fair and accurate material consistent with what you observed and Ms. Roberts was driving down that morning?
Yes.
And at this point in time, as you're coming sort of down the hill from Fairview, is this the point that the conversation occurs as far as Bella's mother and prior dating relationships and things like that?
A little bit more towards the top of the street.
So Bella's mother lives more closer to the top by Chapman?
Midway down, yes.
Just give a minute if you could. vehicle in the roadway there, do you recognize that?
Yes,
And what do you recognize that to be?
Miss Roberts.
Just for clarification purposes, with the laser pointer, if you could direct the jury's attention to where you see Ms. Roberts.
Oops.
Now, the area where you observed Mr. O'Keefe, can you see that in this particular pause frame of the video?
Not in this frame, I cannot. It's not clear.
Just come in if you could. See that area now?
Yes.
Go ahead using the laser pointer, just direct the jury's attention where. Let's come in if you could play this for.
Do you have a problem? Does he do what? Does he do what? Huh?
If you could, fast forward just about a minute. Right. Right. And then pause. Okay, do you recognize any of the individuals up on that screen?
Yes.
And if you could, with the laser pointer, direct the jury's attention. Who do you recognize and who do you recognize that?
Carrie Roberts, myself, Karen Reed.